lot of people told us that we shouldn't do this, and it was for, you know, wealthier people. Okay pups, we've got a lot of jobs to do today. Shall we go? Let's go. Feet, feet. Let's go. I'm in the latter part of my life, shall we say, the second half, and Gillian's not, by the way. So we're both of the sort of type of people that like to do something a bit different, like to take a few risks, perhaps me a little bit more than Gillian. I like to make stuff, I like to build stuff, design stuff for most of my life as a sort of an industrial designer in the medical field. I built a motorcycle a few years ago. It was in a load of shows and magazines and on YouTube. We developed a house before, not anything of this scale at all. We did it with a builder, so we did all the internal stuff, so we're quite handy. But we wanted to do something a bit different to sort of set us up for the second part of our lives, hopefully. So we started looking. We took the sort of usual path, looking for, you know, housing opportunities, small housing, a couple of houses or one house with planning permission, or obviously potential for planning. And we soon realised that we spent quite a long time looking at those. Quite soon realised that all the builders and developers were going to beat us to the post on those, really. We didn't have a chance. Which way shall I go? Let's go this way, pups. Oh, we'll go that way. Okay. Okay, I'm coming. She's leading me down to the burn. She likes to burn. She likes to play in the water. We started to look at stuff that was a little bit more risky and equally more interesting. We looked in quite some detail at a quarry, an old disused quarry, which was within a settlement boundary, so it was kind of interesting. And it was beautiful, but it had some other challenges that meant you were never going to get planning on it at all, of any sort, even around it. We looked at a sewage treatment plant, an old sort of derelict sewage treatment plant, which is just in a fantastic location, and it had a building attached to it as well, which could have been potentially converted. And we had ideas for the actual sewage treatment areas, which are sort of exposed, but that had loads of legal challenges and clawbacks and stuff by the neighbours and the previous owners. It was way too complicated. We looked at a really quite nice water treatment plant next to a lake, disused, derelict, but it was a lovely building as well. All the nice features, all the sort of machinery and all the vats and stuff and all the old Victorian stuff was all ripped out, all gone, probably a long time ago, sold on or stolen or something. That would have been really nice. So we left that one. So we started to look at woodland sites as well. We could afford a woodland. That was the thing. We didn't have to borrow money on it. We also knew that with Paragraph 79 planning route, as it was called then, there are some quite specific criteria that help your case, although don't guarantee it by any means. And some of those are it having a sort of an interesting landscape around it, an interesting site visually. It wouldn't help your case if you were in a greenbelt area or a protected area of any sort. That makes it really, really hard, though not impossible. And it helps if there's some way you can significantly enhance that site. Perhaps it's had a difficult past. It's not been treated very well. There's some areas that have not been looked after, perhaps. Did quite a lot of searching for woodlands that might fit the criteria in our general area, and there aren't many. It's pretty tough. There's lots of woodlands online, but they're all pretty and broadleaf, established woodlands, you wouldn't have a chance in hell of getting any planning in any of those. That's just the way it is, and that's probably a good thing, I think. But just by chance, did a search, and this woodland came up, and it was a day, it was a day before the seal bids were required, and I showed it to Gillian, and we thought, yeah, that would be interesting. And so we put a bid in, and a few days later we were accepted. And then a few days later after that, lockdown came up, and so we couldn't even see it. So we took it on a bit of a whim, but I'd done quite a bit of research around paragraph 79 sites and suitability. I actually found quite a few sites, not always local to us, and ran them by a sort of an architect that I've got to know. And yeah, some of them were, you know, feasible, interesting, but a little too far away for us, so we didn't progress with those on. But this one was interesting. That's why we bid on it. Part of the interesting thing about our site when we found it was that you know, it had some, shall we call it, quite a checkered past. There'd been some businesses run through it, and there's a couple of log cabins, not very great condition, but the log cabins were in like quite a big clearing. So there's no trees, as part of our plan anyway. No trees were removed for the house and the workshop itself. As it happened, Storm Arwen knocked down most of them anyway. But they're all commercial trees, quite low value trees. It's just a crop, you know. They're end of life, planted in, I think, around 1970, and there was no management at all with this site, with the commercial part, or any part actually. There was no forestry management, and all the trees were really tightly grown together. There was no thinning out. It's supposed to be thinned out every 10-15 years or so, and there was none of that. So you could hardly walk between the trees. There was so much sort of so many branches and brash between them. So they're end of life, and they're all going to come down anyway. About 50 years old. Storm Arwen just sort of helped us out a little bit in the end, although it did delay our planning process by about just over a year. So it's 6 2/3 really. There was also some extant planning on the site related to the businesses that used to run here, and there was a refused application from the previous owners for some of the business use, which I won't go into, but it wasn't great, and all those things sort of helped our case, because our proposal was more in keeping with the woodland setting, should we say, whereas the others were not at all. There was also quite a lot. Come on, pups, let's go. There's also quite a lot of fly tipping on our site, and some of it's still here we pretty much filled the shipping container with all the stuff that we can pick up, and there's still more around. We reached out to an architect first off, quite a well-known architect in this field, and you know, he was nice and all, and interested, and of course, and we commissioned him to do a review of the site with a planning consultant. He liked the site and he thought he had merit. That was the main thing. But after having a few online meetings with him and chats about stuff, we just knew it wasn't the right fit at all. And it was just too expensive, let's be honest. He was out of our range. The sort of direction that he was going, the things he was suggesting, not really right for us. So we then sought another architect who we thought was a little bit closer to our realm, should we call it. And they were also into sort of woodland developments, timber frame houses, that sort of thing. They'd done some in the past, so we thought it was a good fit. So we started a process with them. And it started okay. We did some site visit and concept work, you know, with them, concept sketches. And then stuff started to change. Communication, when it started to change, started to go a bit downhill. It's like we were a lower down project now, and they weren't really interested in us. You know, they weren't listening to our ideas basically, and taking weeks to reply. That's not the way to do it. So we canned them, and we reached out to, we took a different tack basically. These previous architects were further away, national, you know, but you know, quite well respected in their field, well known in the field, should I say. But we took a different tack. We decided to reach out to some local architects. We reached out to 3 local architects who had some experience in this field, but perhaps weren't so well known. And we did site visits and, you know, chatted to them. And that's where we met Napa, and they were great. They were a great fit for us, and had a good feeling about them after the site visit. They were totally, you know, aligned with what we were hoping for with the woodland and how we can improve the woodland. We had to work with the Forestry Commission quite closely, and you know, therefore we had to create quite a robust woodland management plan that they were satisfied with. It went to Natural England as well for review, because it's a woodland. You have to have your design reviewed independently by a team of architects, which you have to pay for. It's called the Design Review Panel, and your architect will sort of manage that and guide you through that. We had to do it twice. We had 2 meetings with the Design Review Panel. It's quite expensive, because they're all professionals, and you have to present your case with the architect, and we did it too. You have to make your case for why you think you should build a house or this house in the location that you've decided. We actually had our planning officer attend that one as well, so it was a little bit nerve-wracking, shall we say, but we did it, and I think we did quite well. In the coming weeks we'll do more YouTube videos on the design itself and the arguments that we made for the planning application, and we've got some 3D models, and you know, we can talk about the layout and why we wanted it the way we have, and the reason why it includes a workshop and a solar kiln on the plans. And so that's how the journey started. But it took about 4 years in total to find something, after often weekly visits to different sites. And then once the process started, you know, it's taken about another 4 years it took about 2.5 years to get planning. And it's taken another year and a bit to, you know, get things going, get building regulation approval, all that good stuff. So it's quite a drain on time, and you have to be quite committed, you know, to make it work. But we're in a good place now, and literally a week after we got the planning approval, or less than a week actually, it was about 4 days after, I got made redundant, which was kind of useful in the end, as it happened. I sort of knew it was going to happen. I've done a good stretch, you know, at the company, and it's good company, good people, so it was a good time to go. And so now I've got more time to sort of deal with this, which is good. Pups! Beatrix! I can see you! So this, you know, the YouTube stuff, fantastic if we can, you know, make it work and, you know, get some growth in the channel and, you know, do all the Patreon stuff, and we'd love to try all those things. So any support, you know, subscribing and, you know, sharing and comments and all that good stuff is really, really appreciated for sure. Wait, this way, come on. Come on. She's over the other side. We don't own the other side, so come on. She knows it's forbidden. Come on, this way. Pups. Come on. Good girl. Come on. How are you going to get up there now? How are you going to do it? Come on, up, up. Yeah, you're stuck now, aren't you? Oh, Beatrix. You silly Billy. Come on, go around that way. Good girl. Good girl. So if you're sort of interested in taking this planning route, you know, it's not easy, and you need a bit of money up front. If you find a good site, you've got to pay up front for a lot of reports. If you get a good planning consultant who can guide you, and an architect as well, that's invaluable really. I wish we'd done it sooner, not messing around trying to do stuff ourselves. It's quite risky, this process, so if you're adverse to risk, then it's not for you. If you have good advice and you have some time, and then it's possible. It is possible. A lot of people told us that we shouldn't do this, and that it was out of our realm, and it was for, you know, wealthier people, should we call it, because a lot of these paragraph 79 or paragraph 80 houses tend to be quite big and have a lot about them and quite expensive. We were definitely of the view that you could have a good design that was considered exemplary for the area in architecture's terms, but it doesn't have to be big. It can be quite modest. A large house wouldn't suit this site at all, so it was appropriate for this site, something of our scale. That sort of worked out for us because we couldn't afford something big, for sure.